Thank you, Harold, and Minister. It's an honor, actually, to co-chair this event with you. I think it's an exciting and a very, very important conference. I think that the video that you just saw encapsulates what's happening across the country. Aboriginal people are taking risks, starting up businesses, and becoming successful. 31 companies, as I understand, I may be getting the numbers wrong, but 31 companies appeared in this video, which is simply a small sample of what we heard in terms of 37,000 self-employed Aboriginal people in this country and over 240 economic development corporations. And a number of these businesses who are just featured in the video are here today. So if you're in the video, I want everyone to stand up. Not everyone. I mean, I want you, the businesses, to stand up if you're in that video. Come on. Let's give them a round of applause. Isn't that fantastic? Each one of you represent, I think, the future of Aboriginal economic development. You are fundamental to the Aboriginal market, and you're an absolute critical piece for the Canadian economy. As Minister Duncan said, the opportunities for economic development and business growth have never been greater. And I couldn't agree more. I think it's one of the most exciting times in the history of the country for Aboriginal communities. And what I like to say, and if people have heard me speak before, and maybe some of you have, and maybe you're sick of hearing me say this, but fine, I'll say it again. I see that there are a number of forces all starting to come together, creating this fundamental opportunity that we haven't seen at any other time in the history of this country. The four things I'd like to identify are, first of all, demographics. Aboriginal people represent a talent pool that is yet to be tapped. The problem for Canada in the next decade will not be unemployment, but rather be labor. In the past 10 years, the Aboriginal population increased by 45%, which is nearly 6 times faster than the non-Aboriginal population. Today, 48% of Aboriginal people under the age of 25, 54% live in urban centres. Any employer that ignores the growing Aboriginal talent pool will do so at their peril. I'm very happy to say we have Kelly Lindsay from the Aboriginal Human Resource Council who will be speaking and giving more detail about that later in the conference tomorrow. Entrepreneurship. More Aboriginal people are viewing self-employment as a viable way to create personal wealth, with startups of Aboriginal businesses growing at a rate 5 times faster than non-Aboriginal businesses. Aboriginal businesses are profitable and excited about the future. It's interesting because I was actually looking and skimming a report that was done, I think it was released in September, by the Canadian Federation of Independent Business, which is an organization, actually Catherine Swift is the president and CEO. You'll be hearing from her tomorrow morning. They did a study to see how small to medium-sized businesses actually did in the Great Recession of 2008-2009. And they survived. And many businesses actually had to downsize, they had to take on more debt, they had to seek out other sort of sources of financing. For Aboriginal businesses, not only did they survive, in fact, they thrived. You're going to hear from Sarah Robertson later from M. Veronic's group highlighting some of the research that we were able to determine from the Aboriginal Business Survey. And we were looking at and asking them questions about how well businesses were doing in 2009. More than 60% of Aboriginal small businesses generated a profit in 2009, while 74% of Aboriginal community-owned businesses saw their sales either grow or stay flat during that same period. And they were also very optimistic about the future, with 70% believing their sales would continue to increase in the next couple of years. That fundamentally says something about the resiliency of Aboriginal business. The third thing, land claims. Too often we read about land claims in the press in a negative light. Disputes, blockades, and political rhetoric usually dominates the headlines. Land claims, however, have provided important assets to communities in the form of land, cash, and real decision-making power. Since 1973, 20 comprehensive land claims have been settled, involving more than 4 million square kilometers of land and $2 billion in cash. This infusion of capital has sparked regional economic activity, with Aboriginal communities owning airlines, oil and gas drilling companies, and fishing operations, and some of it you probably saw highlighted in the video. These business entities are often created in partnership with non-Aboriginal companies thereby offering a unique revenue opportunity for both parties. Now, the last thing is sustainability. So those are the four pieces. Corporate social responsibility has become a permanent part of the economic discourse in Canada and around the world. Companies realize if their activities have an adverse effect on the environment, the local community, and/or their employees, they will undoubtedly lose market value. Some agencies that provide the benchmarks on sustainable business practices have identified recognition of Indigenous rights and positive Indigenous relations as components of corporate social responsibility. In Canada, those companies that have developed positive relationships with Aboriginal communities by working in partnership and jointly creating wealth are viewed as exceptional corporate citizens by the world's standards. And so when you look at those four things, demographics, land claims, entrepreneurship, sustainability, the business case for working with Aboriginal people has never been stronger. More frequently, we're reading about a deal that's been struck between a company and an Aboriginal community that creates some type of relationship. These stories certainly will not disappear, but instead will become more common. And that's why this conference is so important, by bringing together like-minded people to explore opportunities and to learn how to continually improve. Interestingly enough, as the minister said, 2011 was announced as the Year of the Entrepreneur. As I said in my blog with the Financial Post, I think with all this excitement and opportunity, I'm sure the minister would probably agree with me that 2011 should have been identified as the Year of the Aboriginal Entrepreneur. So thank you very much.